Okay, in this video we're going to look at selections, basically removing backgrounds, or deep etching as it is known. So in this case with this bottle we're going to look at removing that white background, okay, which is a nice simple selection. Before we begin though, on the left hand side here on our toolbar, our selection tools live in the top section of this toolbar. The top tool being our move tool, which shortcut is V. Next one down is our marquee tools, with its shortcut is M. Okay. So we have our marquee tools. We've got rectangular marquee, elliptical marquee, single row and single column. These bottom two just give you a 1 pixel selection. So to use the rectangular marquee, if we just drag an area, there's your marching ants, which is what lets us know there is a selection there, and it's inside that bottle that is selected. So if I hit delete, okay, it's going to fill it with black for me at the moment. Okay, you can see that it's within inside the marching ants is where the selection is. If though I've made this selection and I now wanted to have the outside of that marquee selected, I need to invert that selection. Okay, it's a very handy trick, inverting selections. And there's two ways of doing it. We either use the keyboard shortcut, which is Command, Shift and I. As you'll now see, the marching ants now go around the edge of my document and the edge of the selection I just made. Just to prove that point, as you see now the outside is selected. The other way to do it, okay, and anything to do with selections, lives within the selections menu. So there it is, select and then inverse, and we've swapped it over. If I wanted to select a perfect square, I would just hold my shift key down whilst using the rectangular marquee. With my elliptical, I can make lovely little ovals, okay, egg shapes, or holding my shift, I get a perfect circle, okay. Next one down is our lasso tool. Again, inside our lasso tool is 3 different versions. The basic one allows us just to free draw a selection. The next one down, okay, is the polygonal lasso tool, which allows us to use straight lines. So we just click wherever we want to go. Okay, this has much more control than the free one, okay, but again, everything's going to be made up of straight lines. Okay, and the last one is the magnetic lasso tool. Okay, and if you drag around the edge of a shape, it does the best it can to cling to the edge. Okay, but if it's tonally quite difficult, as you'll see, there you go, I'm all over the place here. If you're dragging in near the whites, it won't always do it, but it's not a bad starting point in a selection. Okay. Next down is the magic wand tool. Okay, the magic wand tool allows us to select an area, okay, to remove delete, and it works by here. If you notice when we change our tools in the toolbar here, the parameters that we can change up here in the top menu bar. When we are using our magic wand, the important things we're looking at really is the tolerance and this button here. Okay, this checkbox, contiguous, on and off. What the tolerance means is 32 being the default, that wherever I select on this image, it will give me 32 tonal versions either side of that, so darker and lighter of that. So the higher I make that, okay, the more generous its selection, okay, so it's allowing a lot more tonal variation, okay, and the lower I take it, the less it's going to allow me to take. Okay, so if I pick that there with a 10, you see it's only picking up these tiny little bits of green. If I put it up to 100, you see it's picked up a lot of the bottle there. It's much more generous in how much. Now it's not picking up color, it's picking up tone. 32, which is the default, you'll see, there you go, it's picked up a little bit of the green there. Okay, now what we want to do is remove this white background we're going to look at. This is where contiguous can be important. With contiguous off, wherever I select white, it takes it wherever it finds it in the image. So it's inside the bottle and outside the bottle. Okay, with contiguous on, if I select white, it selects it until it hits what it foresees as a hard edge. Okay, which in this point you see it's still going inside the neck of the bottle. So we could try going down very low, because we know that the white is easy to pick. Now that's not too bad, but as you can see now it's leaving little gaps around here. So we'll look at selecting that now then. Before we do that, if we want to have a transparent background, which is generally why we're doing this, okay, to remove it, deep etch it to give us this object with no background, we need to remove our image from its locked background. So the simplest way to do that is just to double click on that layer, okay, call it whatever you want, let's call it bottle, hit OK, and you'll now see if I turn that bottle on and off, I have the checkerboard, which shows that there's a transparency there now. Now I'm going to work with this maybe on about 20, and I'm going to select around the edge. Okay. Now I'm looking at doing selections here, deep etching here from the point of view of an illustrator, and I'm using Photoshop here with my Wacom tablet. So I'm going to sort of show you my technique for doing this as an illustrator. Down the very bottom of our toolbar, and Q as its shortcut, is our quick selection. Now as you can see with the quick selection turned on, okay, at the moment you see I've got the background selected. Okay, I can see that this area in here has been picked up with the selection on the outside. Now it's very simple to use this. Okay, if I use my brush, okay, it allows me to paint more red in. Okay, so I can add to this selection here and go, okay, well I didn't want all that bit involved in my selection, so I can paint away here. This is when the Wacom tablet is a fantastic thing to use. Okay, now we can turn that off again, turn off the quick selection, and we can have another look, see where the marching ants are. Okay, oh, I'd say that's a much better job. Okay, now I can hit, if I now very bravely hit delete, okay, you'll now see I have a transparent bottle. But what I'd like to show you, if I put on a new layer and drag it below my bottle, fill it with black, you'll see that wide area all around my bottle, which is what we call a halo. Now, using the wand alone, you'll never get a perfect selection. But what we can do, let's select again. This time I want to have my bottle selected, not the outside. So I will invert that selection. Command Shift I, okay, or select inverse. As you can now see, the bottle itself is selected. With inside this select menu, we have a very handy little set of tools we can use that live in this modify. Okay, now we're going to look at contract, because what we want to do is drag that selection in a little bit, and we get to decide how much we want to bring it in. So if we now go in 3 pixels, you can now see if I put that on, okay, that's improved a great deal. And I'll probably do it one more time. So I'm going to select outside the bottle, then I'm going to invert my selection. Now I'm going to go select, in fact let's do it the other way this time. Let's select outside the bottle, go select, modify, and instead of contract, let's expand it. So let's expand it, let's go 3 again, hit OK. Now remember I have to hit delete again because the information is still in there. Hit delete, Command D to deselect. That's a much better deep etch there. Okay, so that's just very basic selections, but certainly from the point of view of an illustrator, using Magic Wand to get us started, and then using this quick mask down here so that we can use our pen to go into detail.